All NFL teams at one point in time or another have to make risky decisions in order to win a championship. No example could better be illustrated by this than the Chiefs taking a project quarterback early in the 2017 draft while trading 2 first-round picks in order to do so. Nearly 4 years later, Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL and signed the largest contract ever by an NFL player, and if that's not enough, he is also part owner in the city's Major League Baseball's franchise. Others have whiffed though, like the Washington football team taking Dwayne Haskins in the first round only to bench him less than 2 years later and have done everything but release him or trade him to another team. Both of these franchises made those risks with the same goal in mind, which of course is to win a Super Bowl. Obviously one of those risks worked out for one and another did not, as the football team will probably be drafting yet another quarterback in the first round in the 2021 draft. That brings us to the topic of today's video, as a few franchises need to take a risk similar to what the Chiefs and football team did, or cut ties with a player or coach. Now, just because I used 2 quarterbacks of the drafting as an example does not mean they revolve around that position. 2 more quick examples include the Bears trading for Khalil Mack and the Rams trading for Jalen Ramsey. I just wanted to be clear that not every decision, or risky decision at that, in the NFL boils down to the quarterback position. Now, before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as we are close to the 15,000 subscriber milestone, and as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And first we go to Cleveland to discuss what to do with wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Odell went down for the year back in week 7 against the Bengals with a torn ACL, and even up to that point, it wasn't great for the Browns. For Odell at least. They traded a 2019 first-round pick for him, and while Odell was a star in New York, that hasn't exactly followed him to Cleveland. In his first season with the Browns, he barely surpassed the 1,000-yard mark and caught just 74 passes of the 133 times he was targeted. And to be clear, 74 receptions certainly isn't bad, but when you're targeted 133 times, that's not exactly good. It was much of the same story in 2020 for Beckham, as he hauled in just 23 catches of the 42 targets, which equates to a catch percentage of just 54.8. If you want to attribute some of 2019 as to why Odell wasn't the Odell we're used to Baker Mayfield, then you certainly can, as he threw for a career-low completion percentage of just 59% and ranked only above Josh Allen. But Baker in 2019 has been a different story, and the game Odell tore his ACL, Baker finished the game 22 for 23 or something in this general territory with 5 touchdown passes. Since Odell went down, the Browns have went 4-1 and most recently beat the 8-3 Titans on their home field, all without the help of Beckham. Head coach Kevin Stefanski is looking like a genius more and more each week, and the Browns' future for the first time in a while looks genuinely bright. The tough decision they will have to make is they should move on from receiver Odell Beckham. Now, when I say move on from him, I don't mean cut him straight up, as he's rehabbing a torn ACL, but they should look to trade him, or at the worst case, let him play a few games early next year and then move him. The benefit to playing him a few games next year would have to be a calculated move much in advance, because other teams right now would have the right to be skeptical about his recovery, but if the Browns target him 9 or 10 times per game for the first few games and get a few 100-yard games out of him, that would ease all opposing teams' concerns. I doubt they do this, which is trade Odell, or at least that method, but it would be in the best interest of the team. What's interesting about Odell's contract is if he's on the team post June 1st next year, then he is owed over $15 million, almost $16 million. But he is guaranteed none of it if he is cut prior to June 1st. Cutting Odell would certainly be crazy, especially when a team would surely offer at least a 7th round pick for him, but in the NFL, you truly never know. Now, I'm not saying they will cut him, but I would certainly look to trade Odell Beckham this offseason. And next we head to Philadelphia to discuss this I don't have any words, but this mess of a situation surrounding Carson Wentz and his future. The Eagles, simply put, have not been good in 2020, and it starts with 2 of the most important positions in an NFL locker room. The head coach and the quarterback of the Eagles, who are Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, have been equally bad this year. Carson has fell from the sky, and I don't have to tell you guys this, but he is not anywhere close to the player he was in 2017. That player from the player he is now is long gone, and it's a night and day's difference. Not only is Carson not the same player, but the Eagles roster is a mess too. They are 3-8-1 and have dropped 4 straight since the bye week, with potentially all of them coming against playoff teams in the Giants, Browns, Seahawks, and Packers. They play the Saints this week and the Cardinals the following week, so they very well could be a 3-10-1 team, and as we know, it was announced Jalen Hurts will be starting at quarterback for the Eagles on Sunday. Now, while that is probably best for the team, that doesn't solve the problem that is the Carson Wentz saga. This team is on the hook for him for the next couple of years, and Carson has the lowest passer rating, the most interceptions, and the lowest completion percentage of his career. This decision to bench Carson Wentz wasn't difficult at all, but what the future holds for both the Eagles and Carson is complicated. Carson's contract extension that he signed in 2019 has yet to kick in, and that guarantees $60 million over the first 2 years of the contract. The worst part for the Eagles is not benching Carson, because everybody at one point or another either retires or moves on, or in this case, plays their ways out of a starting position. The worst part for the Eagles is being as financially committed to him as they are. When looking at trading him, if you're Philly, you have to look at teams that would be able to afford him, which to begin with is not a long list. Not only is it not a long list, but why would anyone take Carson Wentz after this atrocity of a season? There's really only one team at this point that I think would entertain an offer, and it's Indy. And I'm sure Indy fans are screaming absolutely not, and understandably so. I'm right there with you. But the connection, for those that don't know, is the Colts head coach Frank Reich was the Eagles offensive coordinator during their Super Bowl run and during Wentz's MVP caliber season. That, as of now, is just connecting dots or making something out of nothing, as people would like to say, but it would also depend on Phillip Rivers retiring. I don't think this would happen, and if they don't, then who? With young quarterbacks in the NFL like Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, and every other notable quarterback, and by the way, those aren't the only notable quarterbacks, you can name other teams that get eliminated pretty quickly. This situation will mess the Eagles up for the next few years unless they can do some serious sweet talking. The best case scenario for them at this moment, the Eagles that is Jalen Hurts goes out there and absolutely stinks it up the same way Carson Wentz has, or even worse. Or the opposite, where Jalen Hurts plays like Justin Herbert was on steroids and they have a clear answer for the future. This may be the worst situation in all of football, and only time will tell how this plays out. And the final potential franchise-altering decision we go to for today's video is for the Patriots to demote head coach Bill Belichick. Now, as crazy as that sounds, just hear me out for a minute. Bill is both the head coach and the general manager of the Patriots, meaning he makes every roster decision, and more specifically, the NFL draft decisions as to who the Patriots select for each draft pick. The reason I am calling for Bill to step down, as general manager that is because his draft picks as of late have not been good. When thinking of players on this team for the past few years that were critical in championship runs, who do you think of? Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Stephon Gilmore, Rob Gronkowski, etc. My point is, none of these guys are young guns with lots to look forward to for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, that does not mean, any player above 25 is worthless and you have to field only young players. No, it does not mean that at all. But take a look at the Chiefs for a minute. Mahomes, Tyreek, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All great players they have drafted and molded through their coaching and developing. Now, this is where it can get a little tricky, because I'm not saying Bill is a bad coach. Believe me, I'm not saying that. No one can. He has 6 rings and they speak for themselves. But what I am saying is Bill, the general manager, is not good at what he does. Case in point, Sony Michel, 2018, first round pick, 3 picks above Nick Chubb. N'Keal Harry, first round pick, 2019. What do the Patriots do in the second round? Trade the 64th overall pick to Seattle for them to use it on DK Metcalf. Now, these are just 2 examples where we can find these every draft, and some are more noticeable than others, like Cincinnati picking John Ross before Patrick Mahomes. But the Patriots roster is absolutely nowhere close to as good as it could be, and it's due, honestly, in large part to Bill Belichick. The problem that would arise from Robert Kraft, or whoever the person at the top of making this specific decision would be, because I highly doubt Robert Kraft is making football-related decisions at this point in his life, would be stepping on Bill Belichick's ego. And a lot of the time we see wide receivers have an attitude or become a bit of a diva because they want the ball or something along these lines. These players have not accomplished accomplished anywhere close to what Bill has at his position. So in theory, this franchise-altering decision of asking Bill to step down as GM and actually hire a GM, which by the way would benefit the Patriots, could break up the dynasty or end the Belichick era altogether. And in reality, that would be the best for the Patriots, asking Bill to step down, that is, where the Patriots have a GM making draft-related decisions and Bill sticking to what he does best, which is coach football. Another example of a Patriots draft not going well, and really not going well is nice because this draft class is absolutely awful, is their 2017 draft class. They had 4 picks and were used on Derek Rivers, a defensive end who has 5 career tackles and is no longer a member of the Patriots, tackle Antonio Garcia, who has never played in an NFL game, tackle Connor McDermott, who was cut before ever playing a game for the Patriots, now a Jet, and the other one that worked out solid was Dietrich Wise. But is Wise worth a Hill draft class? No, absolutely not. If it were a GM that had drafted as bad as Bill has for the past few years, they would have undoubtedly been fired for poor production. But time and time again, Bill the coach saves Bill the general manager, and what's crazy is if they had even an average drafting general manager, then this dynasty could have had 8 or 9 rings. And my last point is to not slander Bill the coach in any way. I don't want that to be a takeaway from this video, but when you think of the Patriots dynasty, it's more often than not made by late round players or undrafted players, and that's a testament to Bill the coach. But had Bill the GM been even half of a coach he is, then this dynasty could have had at least 8 or 9 rings, which is absolutely insane. Now, with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.